Hi. Welcome back to another episode on the Healthy Wisdom series with Dr. Jen Chen. Okay, Healthy Wisdomers, are you guys ready? We are going to continue on to the seventh principle of good governance and how that applies to our daily lives. So today we are going to be covering the principle of communication. And as the definition reads, the board ensures an effective two-way system of information flow in the organization, gathering credible information from and providing constructive and performance-enhancing feedback to management. Now, again, the definition always sounds a little more technical, but if we zero in on the actual concept of what it means by communication, right? It's a two-way system, right? And it has to be effective because what's being expressed and what's being received should technically be as in sync as possible so that, the outcome can be, I'd say, something that both parties are working towards, right? Whether it's the organization or the management, or in a family unit, it'd be parents and children. And if it's in a relationship, husband, wife, partners, the whole shebang, right? So really, communication is about being able to connect, right? And with the situation that we're in right now, where, a lot of people are working from home, and actually children are actually learning online from home, communication and connecting is more important now than ever, right? So what we're going to cover today is the three key areas that I wanted to zero in on about communication. And the first one that I want to touch upon is actually the value of connection. Connection is one of those things that I feel it kind of goes beyond just communicating a piece of information, right? So the way I kind of like to sort of visualize it or highlight it is by thinking about one of my teachers back in the day. So my English 11 teacher was, I consider, somewhat more of a connector than a communicator. So personally, I wasn't really into Shakespeare. I don't know how many of you is interested in Shakespeare, but Shakespeare's writing was very, it's Old English, right? So it's kind of hard for us to be able to immediately get into, right? To understand it, in a very concrete way. So I remember Shakespeare was always a little bit abstract for me. And especially as English is like my third language, I remember it was very hard for me to comprehend, the different lines and the different ideas that Shakespeare was trying to convey. But what my English 11 teacher was able to do is actually inspire me to have an appreciation for Shakespeare. And I remember, especially, Romeo and Juliet, I had no problems because, as a teenager, you're kind of into like the whole lovey romance, even though it was a tragic story. I had no problems connecting with Romeo and Juliet. But at the time we were learning about Hamlet. And I remember going, I have no idea what Hamlet is about. But the way he actually helped us learn the whole, story of Hamlet was by separating us into different groups and putting us on a project of actually using or engaging some of the skills that require some acting involved and some, active engagement. So we literally, in each of our mini groups, had to take a portion of the story of Hamlet and act it out. So I remember there was a monologue, right? The to be or not to be. And we were assigned, luckily, to that portion. And I remember when I was practicing, the lines, really trying to understand the lines. And because it was just one section, it didn't feel like a daunting task. And as a result, I remember how engaged the entire class was when we each presented our sections of the storyline, and it was tremendous success, I would say, because not only were we teenagers who are obviously already a harder group to engage and to have interested in any piece, let alone Shakespeare. But I thought it actually made the whole learning experience really fun. So I remember my English 11 teacher, and he really inspired us to grow a love for Shakespeare. And so that's one of the things, is that if you are successfully engaging, whether it's a group or someone that you are trying to communicate something to, that connection is very important, because the more you are able to connect, the more successful the message that you are trying to relay to them will come through accurately. So the second point, it kind of builds on that, is one of the things that I have learned actually in the very recent few years, where if we are able to, I guess, role model after someone that you admire who is a good connector, so a great communicator who actually connects with their audience, that's something that I find is valuable to focus in on, and also be able to role model after and imitate. Right? So we're just role modeling. We're using them as an example, but we're not trying to be them. Right? So for example, one of the connectors that I really love, I love their energy, I love how they convey the message, is Miss Lisa Nichols, which I have definitely mentioned in other episodes, because she is one of my inspirations. She is one of my role models. She is a mentor that I look up to, and every time that I get to learn from her, I get nuggets, really, really, really valuable nuggets from all her teachings. And she's one of those people that actually has walked through different stages of your life, in your career, and in, relationships as well, as well as some of her challenges in life as well, because she has struggled with her weight issues as well. And I mean, she's an inspiration. I mean, look at her today. She's in great shape. She's looked better than ever. And the confidence that, comes through, in all her teachings, it's just brought up like 10x. So I use her as one of the models that I would like to format and structure my teachings, and to be able to convey that same level of energy, conviction, and messaging as well. So Lisa Nichols, hands down, one of my favorite ladies. I really like this quote actually by Joyce Meyer. And she says, God will help you be all you can be, but he'll never help you be someone else. Which segues perfectly into the third area that I want to talk about, and that's authenticity. I think this is one of the hardest points that we're going to make today, because in order to convey something in a very authentic way, we have to be very comfortable with who we are. And I think it takes a certain amount of determination to be who you are. It is one of the biggest and hardest things to do, but I'd like to encourage you and to challenge you to do it. Because a lot of times in this world that we live in, we are not encouraged to be ourselves. If anything, we are more distracted by, I guess, keeping up with the Joneses. And that, unfortunately, isn't going to be a representative of who you would want to be. Because anytime that you're not being yourself, you're not going to be able to strive for the things that you value and that you are good at. And then quite oftentimes we're going to feel like a lack, and we're going to feel like we're not enough. And then that's another rabbit hole you don't really want to go down, right? So one of the questions that I like to ask myself when I'm trying to become very authentically me and to really not compromise on that, this question is very useful. So I would highly encourage you to, absorb it and use it, and, see how it can fit into your way of, I guess, encouraging yourself to become you. And the question really is very simple. I always ask myself, what do people want? What is it that people want that I have, that perhaps nobody else has, right? What makes me me, right? So you have to get clear on that. You have to know, what is it about you that only you have? And we all have something that somebody else doesn't, right? So we just have to tap into that. But you may have to ask yourself this question a million times, and you have to, let's break out our journals. Let's write this down. Each day that you ask yourself this question, I guarantee you're going to come up with different answers. And then from, a whole week's worth of the list that you make of the things that you have that are special to you and that only you have, that you can give to this world or contribute to this world, out of that list, you're going to see a pattern surface. You're going to see a list of about 3, 4, maybe 5 things that are specific to you. And so this is an exercise I would highly encourage you to incorporate into your journal exercises so that you can actually hone in on that. Because if we don't write things down, it doesn't stick, and it doesn't become clear, and you don't see the patterns, right? I mean, as human beings, we learn through the 5 senses. Some of us learn through a combination of different combinations of these 5 senses. I personally, I am a visual, auditory, and a kinesthetic learner. So I got 3 out of the 5. Unfortunately, I need a lot of different sensory input for me to really hone in on, whatever it is I'm learning. And so I find journaling and speaking it into myself, so I listen to myself and my own words, and I read it out. Okay. So when I look at my list, I actually read it out. I write it out. I read it out, right? So the kinesthetic would be writing it out, right? While you're thinking about it. The visual part, you see the patterns, right? And then you hear it when you read out your list. So that's how I actually incorporate all the information. So this is one of those exercises I find very, very valuable, and I think that it will also help you. So the 3 different key areas that we covered today are: understand the value of connection, imitate or role model after connectors that you admire and who inspire you. And the third thing is to be determined to be yourself, your true, authentic self. Because at the end of the day, you got to be you, because everybody else is taken. All right, Healthy Wisdomers, it has been another pleasure to share this episode with you, and I really thank you for listening. Please take a minute to subscribe, follow, and rate this episode so we can share this wisdom with everybody that we know. And also, let's invite them to join us on this journey. This is the Healthy Wisdom Series with Dr. Jen Chen. I'll catch you guys next week.